Alrighty, what's going on, boys? My name is Garren. How y'all doing today? So in today's video, we're going to be reacting to another content creator, which is something a little different from me. Usually when I cover like do reactions, it's usually to like official stuff by like Wayfinder or Final Fantasy XIV or the first Descendant, but this time we're actually reacting to another content creator. I got word of this from one of my subscribers who actually sent me this video and said you might like this video, and you might want to react to it and really kind of give some insight and give your opinions on just how you felt about Season 1. So that's what we're going to be doing in this video. So the content creator is Fateless. Don't worry, I'll leave a link to his channel as well as this specific video if you guys like this video and want to support him. So with that being said, let's turn it up, baby.
Season 1 of the first Descendant has released.
Damn, holy shit, he's fucking 26, man. I'm so behind. I'm like almost at 20 right now. Which, in my defense, I've been focusing on things that aren't getting my mastery rank up. So, holy shit, this guy's 26. Yeah, this guy knows what he's talking about.
New spin on content known as Invasion Dungeons. Now, you would assume new content coming out alongside a new season would be a good thing.
She ain't kinda bad, she bad, bro.
In the case of the Invasion Dungeons, there's been a lot of talk, controversy, and might I say drama surrounding this new content.
Yeah, so just to kind of give you guys where I'm at in terms of invasions, I don't mind that invasions are difficult. Actually, that's a lie. I think the problem for me with the game is that invasions were something that the game kind of like advertised. You know how when you go into like a new Destiny season, the game like advertises its new like seasonal, what is it? The new seasonal content. It's like Menagerie or something like that. And for a new player to come into the game, you can go straight in. You could go straight into that seasonal content. And that's what I love about Destiny, but Invasions, it almost felt like that was what they were trying to do, but it ended up being just like this really difficult content, especially since you get access to it right after you finish the campaign. So a lot of people are going into that content as well as getting like false expectations from the story invasion, but they're going into these invasions and it's just too difficult for them. You know what I mean? And this is my problem, and this is why I've been saying that I feel like Invasion should have had like a tier difficulty system or like the difficulty system in Destiny, like normal, master, grandmaster, whatever it is. You know, something like that to kind of make it so that the casual players can still engage in the content, but also for the people who want that more hardcore experience, they can do that. But of course, you reward them more because you're not just going to do harder content without getting like that extra reward. So I'm sorry, I'm pausing a lot, but that's just how I feel.
So much so that within the first week of the season dropping, the devs already made what I would consider an emergency patch and up.
This reminds me of Lost Ark when the Korean player base was not happy, because typically with Smilegate, I believe is the company's name, they usually care about the Korean player base. They don't really pay attention to the Westerners. And so when the Korean player base is up in arms, they have their emergency live streams, and there was a point in time where they were having like a couple of them in a row because things were so bad. That's crazy. That's what we need, emergency live streams
from their original state. Regardless of your stance on the topic, I am here today to talk to you about what I believe is the real problem with the Invasion Dungeons.
Well, lay it on me, baby.
Before we get started, I am happy to announce I now officially have a creator code. If you guys would like to support us,
oh shit, support him. Don't support me.
Be sure to add
yes,
us
support
as
his creator code. Don't support mine. Fuck me.
Indirectly support us through your own in-game purchases. At
I'm also a creator as well.
Link will be in the description below.
But don't support me. Support him.
Redirect for you guys to click to be able to link.
I already like him.
Thank any of you guys ahead of time for using my creator code.
Shit, I'll use his creator code myself
for you.
if I can.
There are two camps of players when it comes to the controversy and drama within the.
You have the casuals and the elitist.
the whole invasion content in the game. Some players are in the camp of content too hard. Some players believe content too easy. Some aren't even talking about difficulty. Some players are fixated on the mechanics inside.
Yeah, the mechanics, I don't really have a problem with the what is it, the puzzles and the mechanics, whatever you want to call them. Like, I actually, like, this is going to be crazy, especially since how negative I've been on invasions. I actually like the idea of, like, the color-coded barrier, and you have to, like, stand on the platform and, like, shoot it. The problem is that the boss is constantly, like, in the boss room, there's, like, constantly infinitely spawning enemies that are, like, smacking the shit out of you while you're trying to shoot the boss, while you're trying to shoot his shield. And it's just really fucking annoying, because I feel like most of the time, unless I'm playing a character like Bunny, I have to go in there and, like, I have to turn my attention away from the boss to kill the mobs, only for the mobs to just constantly be respawning. It's really fucking annoying, and it's just another example of why Bunny is a problem in the game, because she is just a answer to everything fucking Descendant, and it's, in my opinion, it's problematic. But I'll make a separate video talking about that.
Of the invasion dungeons. Some people think the mechanics are bad. Some people might think that the mechanics are a good thing and they add more engaging experience.
Yeah, I would be in that boat.
Regardless of if you think
I think it's something different.
Dungeons are easy, hard, good mechanics, bad mechanics. There is a more overarching problem.
Well, lay it on me, baby.
As the flagship.
Come on, Fateless, tell me.
One gameplay loop. Imagine you're a player who maybe hopped into the first Descendant at launch.
I see where he's going.
Yourself
I cannot.
A little bit
this
of
is
time
exactly
game,
what I said.
Didn't play it too much. It didn't quite grab you. You know, maybe pre-season.
Or not
you
exactly,
were busy
but
or whatever.
close.
Had stuff going on, and then you get an advertisement. Season 1 is officially beginning in the first Descendant.
Yes, sir.
You see that, and you're like, "Hey, I'll give the game another shot." You see the gameplay reveal trailer. You see these invasion dungeons. The trailer polishes it up, makes it look pretty cool.
Shows you Haley's massive
and
knockers.
Then you go and try them out. And
yes, sir.
As a player who is coming back into the game and sort of getting back into it for maybe the first or second time, maybe you don't have too many hours in there. Maybe you saw Season 1 as the real beginning opportunity of the game. Felt like preseason didn't have enough going on for yourself.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So it's time to hop back and roll it. So all this content that you saw advertised and showcased inside of these trailers, obviously you want to engage with it.
Yeah, I 100% agree with him here. It's like, you know, you're someone who stopped playing the game. Maybe you just want to do the campaign. Maybe, you know, maybe you got distracted and you started playing other games. Season 1, you know, being announced and, you know, coming out is like a great opportunity. Like, seasons just in general is a great way to get people to come back to your game, because it's like usually with a new season, especially with the perception of seasons from other games, typically this being a looter shooter, you think of Destiny or you think of an update in Warframe. You know, actually, I don't want to say Warframe, because Warframe, when they add new content, they add new content. Like, they add a lot of shit. But in the terms of Destiny, you know, we get like new, you know, you get new guns, you get new like new seasonal content, you get a new battle pass, you get all this new stuff that you can work towards and you can farm for, you know, getting that god roll, whatever. And I think that's important, but really it's felt like this content that we got in Season 1 has honestly just been pushing players away, because a lot of it was just cosmetics and paid stuff. And so if you're someone who is more on the casual free-to-play side, then what really was there to do? Like, you go in and, you know, invasions are too hard for you, so what do? You start working on your Haley grind, and then the Haley grind just doing dungeons only is kind of fucking bad. So you're pretty much just doing the same thing that you were already doing. And I think that's a massive problem. I think that's something that the game definitely needs to address in the future.
It's the Season 1 stuff. It's the new content. You want to dive right in and experience what the new exciting stuff is going on in the first Descendant. Now, this is where the spectrum of difficulty controversy arises within the invasion dungeons. So a lot of players think that they were already too easy and that people are complaining that they are too hard, that their builds are bad,
the elitist.
None of that really matters when the real issue lies within where the devs attempted to approach more aspirational content in the game. As I was saying before, imagine being a more casual player who wants to hop in and check out Season 1 after
he got 5 from that. God
These
damn.
invasion dungeons came out.
That's like 20 dungeon runs right there.
Threat of content in the game outside of Colossus battles. Maybe you could say this is a good thing because new content now.
Yeah, so currently right now, the hardest content in the game is Gluttony. Gluttony is the pinnacle hardest content in the game, and nobody's fucking doing it. Nobody's fucking doing it. Why? It's a terrible fight. It's too difficult, and considering the rewards that you get from it, because Peacemaker fucking sucks, nobody cares about that weapon. And so you have a situation where the content is really, really hard, but you're not rewarding players for doing that hard content. So people don't care. Like, they made it so that the Luna mod that came from Gluttony was now you could farm it from Executioner. So you could just farm that shit out like no fucking problem. Like easy peasy lemon squeezy, baby. But I think there definitely needs to be more challenging content in the game. But the game needs to figure out, or the developers need to figure out, where the challenge needs to be. I think what they should do is they should kind of reuse content in a way and add like a challenge mode difficulty for not just Void Intercept battles, but also dungeons. So what I mean by that is adding like a challenge mode, let's say a weekly challenge mode that gives you like some really cool fucking rewards, like some maybe some cool cosmetics, some like sought after cosmetics that people like, maybe some skins for ultimate weapons that people actually want. You know what I mean? Like things that people want. Like a huge part of Warframe and Destiny is fashion frame. I don't know what they call it in Destiny Transmog, whatever they call it. Hell, even, Final Fantasy 14 and World of Warcraft, a lot of these games, people will put themselves through hell just to look good. I mean, currently right now in Final Fantasy 14, I'm going through the Eureka grind so I can get the Eureka Elemental set offending. If you know, you know. I'll try and put it up on screen so you guys see, like, this is a badass looking armor set. It has no statistical advantage, but it looked good, and that's all that fucking matters. It looked good. And when people see that, they'll see, hey, you completed Eureka. You fucking dog you. Same thing with relic weapons from Final Fantasy 14. A lot of them are, a grind. Not as bad as they used to be, but they're still a grind. And people will put themselves through hell and some tedious, repetitive grind just to have a weapon that they can't even actually use, but they get it for the actual look of it. Incentivize players to do that hard content.
All of us that have been grinding the game really hard have
and
something to use our fancy builds on. But being the main flagship,
my Sharon build is now fully built, by the way.
Put into the game
and my Sharon is also really fucking tanky.
It is a horrible idea to try and use the new content that you want to show off to everybody as the newest aspirational, highest tier difficulty content in the game.
I agree.
You were specifically advertising this as the new stuff to come and play, and that needs to be accessible content. Seasonal content needs.
Great point. You're advertising this as the new content for people to come back and play. You need that content to be accessible. That doesn't mean you can't make that content challenging by having a separate difficulty for the people who want to do that content, who want to do that challenging content, but you also need to reward those people. Because currently right now, the only thing you do invasions for is Haley. There's nothing else. There's no reward. There's no... Like, you pretty much, invasions are literally there just for you to get Haley. Other than that, nobody cares. Nobody cares. I think there's also one of Luna's new mods that come from that, but I think you can also get it from somewhere else. So, I mean, there's very little incentive to do invasions.
To be accessible. If you're going to be showcasing this and throwing it out there, making it all flashy inside of the trailers, everybody needs to be able to experience it and not get frustrated and bash their head against a wall and claim to want to quit the game entirely over this.
Yeah,
I
agree.
believe that there should have been a normal mode and then maybe a hard mode version
Great point.
of the invasion dungeons.
I agree.
That way,
100%.
there is a tier of the new season content that everybody could gain access to. Obviously, between
Can you guys
normal
hear
and
my
hard,
fan? I
awards can be
apologize if
adjusted
you
to
hear
make hard more
it's
justified.
really hot.
But there does need to be that normal mode, or they could have just made a lesser difficult overall variant of this content that it was just a baseline that everybody could do. Now, I'm not saying that it's a good thing that this was...
Now, of course, they should have made that easier version, like, less rewarding, so that maybe, like, every time you go into it, you get, like, 1 or 2. Maybe you get like 3 from gold if you do it on the easier difficulty, and you get 6 on the higher difficulty, or more, whatever you guys would want. I'm just doubling it. But yeah, I 100% agree with him with this. Like, they should have just added another difficulty or something like that.
Some of the hardest content we had, and all of a sudden it gets dialed back. You can now easily get gold scores with like half the time remaining. Before, the gold rewards felt like you had to lock in and really push your build to the limit to get it done. But now you can kind of lollygag along in there.
He knows more about this than me. I haven't done invasions, or I haven't completed an invasion because I've been farming Haley dungeon only.
But now it just kind of feels Now, I don't think the retuning was a bad thing. They changed a lot of the mechanics up, and the mechanics are definitely a lot better than they were. There's a lot of jankiness, you might call it, to the mechanics. A lot of weird things.
Yeah, I think
the sort of nitpicky, but
yeah, I think the changes to the puzzles were good, like regardless of difficulty. Just because like he said, they were janky, they were annoying as fuck, like just like stupidly small things like the pillars that you see on the screen right now. The pillars being faced outwards instead of inwards, so you can very easily see them. That was just something that was also really annoying, as well as the little robots, the little bots, where it was vertical instead. The symbols were vertical instead of horizontal, so it was a little bit confusing on the orientation. You know what I mean? So yeah, I 100% agree with him on this. Like the puzzles were just way too janky.
Very valid nitpicks when it comes to the way they designed all
That's
the
actually
mechanics
a cool boss.
For the invasion dungeons. There were plates that you had to stand on for a long time.
Oh, it's a tumor? Like my ex-wife.
Color blind issues.
I never had an
ex-wife. It was a color-specific puzzle. There were these tower things you have to shoot, but then you have to like go out
Wait,
of your
is
way
Secret
to
Garden
get around
actually
the right
like
side of them to
kind of
shoot
popping?
them, and that like
oh, it's this boss.
Timer
this is
it takes you longer to get to the.
That's the boss in holy shit, that's fucking terrifying. That's the boss in the one void reactor from Fortress that I fucking hated. Man.
Right angle to shoot them, and then there's decoys.
Bro, why is it so
fucking
fucking dark?
Yada, yada, yada.
Holy shit.
So overall, the change to the mechanics was a
damn,
positive thing. What
me.
the devs really should have done with this season, keep the new content accessible to all players. New seasonal content needs to be playable by a majority of your player base. While I agree that we need more aspirational content in the game, the invasion dungeons were not the place for the devs to approach this and make it the most difficult content that we've seen in the game when it comes to something that aren't the progression of Colossi battles. The right place to approach new difficulty should have been the new tier of hard mode infiltration ops we're getting, whether you want to call it tier 3 or extreme difficulty or ultra hard, whatever they want to call it. This is where the devs should have began with approaching a new tier of difficulty in.
Yeah, I think that would have made the most sense, because it's content that we've already been doing, and content that we're consistently doing. So making it so that there's a harder difficulty would be great. But another thing is the developers still need to incentivize. Like I said before, what I wanted to see is like a weekly challenge mode or weekly extreme difficulty. Excuse me for a second. I apologize. Whew, man. What I wanted to see was like a weekly challenge mode, like I said before, where you go in, you get like some really cool cosmetics depending on which void intercept battle or which dungeon you do. I call them dungeons because it's easier to understand. But yeah, I think I agree with him again on this, like making it so that you, instead of making it so that the aspirational content, the invasions where you're kind of advertising this to people who probably stop playing the game and they see this and they come back into the game because it's like, oh yeah, new content, cool. Making it so that these people can do that content is more important and is better for better for the long-term health of the game, but also having it so that you already kind of have a piece of content there that you can like adjust the difficulty. So it makes sense that you would go with, the infiltration operations.
The game.
Hell, even the like defend Albion resource stuff.
Content that is static in the game, locked in, and create a new tier there. We don't know if this content is limited, but these Season 1 invasions, based on other games that have seasons, sometimes the content is known to be taken out eventually after seasons are over. I don't know if the devs...
No, I'm pretty sure invasions are supposed to be a long-term thing. Like, they're actually keeping these in the game for the long term. So I'm pretty sure invasions are here to stay.
Tend to do that, or if the invasion dungeons are here to stay long term in the game. The fact that we don't know that or not, this could.
I'm pretty sure they said that
on
they're
this
long
going
term.
Forward, but whenever you add
but maybe
a new
not.
Piece of content,
I don't know. I thought they said that, but I could be wrong.
Accessibility to the majority of the players for it, so that everybody can feel included in what's new and what's going on in the game.
I agree.
Now, with this new third tier of infiltration ops, this is the
correct place down.
That the whole invasion dungeon idea should have been implemented. With the
that's such a nice skin. I might get that skin for Ultimate VSA.
Aggression and density
I love that skin.
All of the ads in the missions, the complexity of some of the mechanics. I wouldn't say they're exactly complex. The complexity of these mechanics were more so not the greatest design. Like I said, a lot of things have been cleaned up, but as new content rolls into the game, if it's what's being advertised and shown off to the general public, that needs to be very accessible to make these players come in and feel like they are welcomed in the universe of this game, like they can keep up, because that is how you're going to grow the player base long term. Not everybody picks up the game day one. Not everybody continues to play the game as hard as some of us do regularly. I'm sure there's people who played through the story of this game and put it down after that. Maybe some players just like to progress through the boss, and when they beat the final Colossus boss, that is their end game completion goal. But no matter who you are in this game, whenever new stuff is being advertised, advertisements are supposed to draw in a player base, an audience. That audience needs to be able to interact and be able to have some level or form of success or enjoyment with the product they were advertised. Using the advertised content and making it inaccessible to the many is going to be bad in the long term for future growth of this community.
Yeah, I agree.
The last thing I want to see is the community start to dwindle away rather than grow. This game has a massive potential.
And I said this before, and I'll say it again. When you make a game for the top 1% of players, don't be surprised that the top 1% of players are the only people playing your game. I think that it's important to have content for, the people who have invested that time into their builds. Like, don't get it twisted now. When I make my videos and I make my judgment, I make my calls or I form an opinion about stuff in the first Descendant, I look at it as a free-to-play casual. Because I feel like a lot of content creators are looking at it from the, we spend a lot of money, we spend a lot of time, we spend a lot of things in the, we spend a lot of time and money in the game. And so we feel like that there needs to be harder content and stuff like that, but that's not the solution. You know what I mean? The solution is that the developers want this game to be catered towards everybody. This game is not Path of Exile, where the developers understand that only a small niche play their game, but they cater their game to that small niche. But this game is not going for that. This game is going for big success, like going for big numbers, like Destiny, like Warframe. And in order for it to do that, it needs to cater towards everybody. It needs to cater towards the casual. It needs to cater towards the hardcore player. And a great way by doing that is by making it so that there's content for casual players, because casual players progress through things at a slower rate, but sometimes they're more goal oriented. They see a weapon that looks really cool, they start working on it. They work on it bit by bit by bit. You know what I mean? That's just how I see it. That's just how I operate. Being a free to play casual, where it's like, okay, I see a weapon or I see a build that I want, I start working on it. It might take me a while, but hey, I'm gonna work on it. Especially since I'm not like other content creators. I don't shell out a bunch of money for Catalyst and activators in the shop. The activators and the Catalyst are expensive. They've been expensive since the game came out, and I'm not wasting my fucking money when I could just go out and farm that shit myself. But that's just me. But yeah, I think this elitist mindset in the game, and I think this divide in the community where you have that like casual player and that elitist player, and the divide in the community has honestly just not been very healthy it's just not been healthy. And I want to see things change. I want the community to feel a little bit more united than what it is currently. And it feels like it's just a matter of like you have one side and you have the other side. You have A and B. You have red and blue. It's just not healthy. But yeah, that's just something I wanted to say.
Of a foundation here, especially for a free-to-play game. I'd say the baseline of what we have in this game is even better by a long shot than some of the full retail $70 plus games that...
Yeah, I agree with him 100%. 100%. This game at a base level was actually really good. There was a lot of content. There was a lot of stuff. There was a lot of stuff for you to work towards. It was great. And it's no surprise that the devs were surprised that people just kind of blew through that shit. When you look at Destiny, I can't say for Warframe, but Destiny 2, Destiny 1 even, when they first came out, I'm going to say Destiny 2. Destiny 2, when it first came out, was bad. They removed god rolls. They removed a lot of the grind to... They removed a lot of the grind and the want to go get that god roll, because there wasn't any. Content was like brain dead fucking easy. I don't know if you guys remember Trials of the Nine. Oh my fucking goodness, that shit was awful. And then literally the first year of Destiny 2 being out, we got Curse of Osiris, and that's when I quit the game. That's when I quit the game. Curse of Osiris was so bad, in fact, Destiny content creators were leaving, playing Monster Hunter World, and that was when Bungie was still under Activision, so Activision had to get High Moon Studios to help them, because it was so bad with Warmind, and Warmind was okay at best. It was an improvement over Curse of Osiris, but it was basically Destiny 1 all over again. Destiny 1 launch was mediocre at best. Dark Below was not really that good. What was the second DLC? I remember that's when they added Prison of Elders. What was it called? House of Wolves. That's what it was. House of Wolves. House of Wolves was okay. It was definitely improvement, but it was Taken King that really turned Destiny around. It was Taken King.
come out there that claim to be AAA experiences. A free-to-play looter shooter thriving in 2024. Not to mention
crazy.
The devs' extensive dedication to fixing things that are wrong or don't feel right, that are pain points within the community. These developers are going incredibly hard in this game.
That's still stupid. You have to get like a whole ass new gun just to hit it once.
The first Descendant. Now, when it comes to the Part 2 update of Season 1, obviously a new boss is coming along, and the boss is advertised as a big, bad, scary. Big, bad, scary,
that's fine.
Now, it's all right if that's not as accessible to
that's
the
fine.
general population.
Yeah, nobody cares about that.
You cannot suffocate them out of the game entirely. There needs to be something they can engage in and feel welcomed when it comes to new seasonal stuff, so it makes...
Yeah, this is something I don't think I said, but... like, you already have content in the game that's being added that's challenging. Because as soon as Deathstalker comes out, Gluttony's getting nerfed. There's a whole article about this. As soon as Deathstalker comes out, it's going to be the new Gluttony. It's going to be the new hardest fight in the game. And I think that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that in its entirety. Now, hopefully it's designed a lot better than Gluttony. Gluttony was just dog... Gluttony is fucking dog shit, bro. It's fucking dog shit. I haven't even fucking done it, but I can look at a fight and I can say, that's dog shit. That's bad. That's not fucking good. Like, it unironically made every other Void Intercept battle just look like a cakewalk. It was so bad. But I think, like he said, you don't want to suffocate players out of the game because you're just consistently adding content that they can't do or that they can't engage in from the start. You have to add something. You have to add that carrot on the stick, that thing to get people into the game, that foot in the door, to get them addicted. You know what I mean? Like I said before, you come back for a new season of Destiny. They have new Pinnacle content, or not Pinnacle content. They have new seasonal content. And you do that seasonal content, and you complete it, and you get that dopamine hit. You're like, okay, I want to keep going. Next thing you know, you're doing the that Zur content. What is it? With the fucking horse. I can't remember what the fuck it's called. It's like a game show kind of thing. But you know what I mean? Like it's the foot in the door. You know, it's like, okay, I want to try this. Now I want to try that. That's how you get people's foot in the door, to get them addicted.
Sense. Well, it would have made sense for the Invasion Dungeons to come out first as a decent experience for everyone, and the boss to come out a little bit later on as the more aspirational content for more of us grinders.
Yeah.
I do like the setup and the system the Colossi give in here. They are a progression system in the game. Obviously, there's been some shortcomings in the development of certain things that allowed specific builds and characters to do things they weren't supposed to do to...
He's talking about Kyle. He's talking about Kyle.
Get through bosses, which may have led to people progressing farther than they probably should have.
Yeah, he's talking about Kyle.
End game matchmaking for some bosses not what it should be. The whole idea of the boss progression is to prove that somebody is ready to take on the next challenge.
I don't agree with him. I actually don't agree with him to an extent. Okay, I'm gonna kind of meet him 50-50 here. Only reason why is because I think Void Intercept battles are cool. I think they're awesome, and I do like them as a progression system in the game. What I don't like is the way they're fucking designed. Like the way each individual boss is designed, especially once you get past like Obstructor. In my opinion, Obstructor is by far the best Void Intercept battle in the game. It's not even a question. He's incredibly easy to understand. He has a mechanic, but it's a mechanic where the developers don't tell you what the mechanic is, but they tell you what the mechanic is. Because you can go into Obstructor and you can understand his mechanic very fucking easily. Okay, when he goes into Frenzy, he summons 2 portals, and then eventually he'll summon 4 portals. And these portals will summon balls, and these balls, he'll absorb them, and then he'll one-shot the entire fucking party. Now, I'm not going to comment on how I feel about Korean developers and their one player fucks up, everybody wipes. Okay, now I have to go back. Now I have, at least with like games like Lost Ark, you can just keep doing the boss. Whereas in this game, you have to go back, you have to re-queue, and then you have to, get queue back into you have to get match made back into the Void Intercept battle. I also think the way the developers designing these Void Intercept battles to be as matchmaking unfriendly as possible is a massive detriment to the game. I know that the developers are Korean, so they have things like the what are they called, PC bungs? Is that what they call them over in Korea? The internet cafes. But and so you have like that element of socialness in Korea, but for a lot of us Westerners, we don't have that. We don't have like an internet cafe that we can go to, sit with our friends, and play the first Descendant. We don't have that. What we have is we come home from a 10-hour work day, and we hop onto the game, and we just want to take it easy. And so I agree with him in some cases with the progression of Void Intercept battles, but I really think that the way these mechanics are designed to be as not very matchmaking friendly is sometimes it's almost like just brute force, like just keep doing it until you get it kind of thing, where it's like it's not even about like mechanics anymore. It's just how many times it's like, can I get good RNG to get teammates who actually know the mechanics? You know what I mean? That's just how I feel about it. But he is right to an extent, in my personal opinion.
But that's a discussion for another day. This is the discussion now. Going forward, seasonal content coming out alongside at least the first update of a season. It looks like we may get a main update for each new season and then a mid-season update, which I don't mind. However,
I don't mind either.
Season 1 Part 1 update ended up a little bit light.
I know people that are upset by like them drip feeding. Yeah, I don't want them to drip feed, but I'm okay with them having like 2 updates or 3 updates, like having an entire season like separated into 3 updates. But I do agree with him on the fact that update 1 did feel very lackluster in terms of content. Like the big main piece of content was invasions, and we're here now saying that, hey, this content wasn't really accessible to a whole lot of players. I mean, the elitists will say that they should have made it harder, but the elitists also probably want this game to fucking die at this point, with the way they think and the way they want the game to be. You know what I mean? There needs to be this level of understanding that sometimes you need content that is catered towards the group you're a part of, but you also sometimes need content that's catered towards the other group. That's how games thrive and survive. But yeah, that's just what I wanted to say.
I think due to the previous
content hasn't really been that good.
The devs intended on, which was 3 parts of a release, monthly releases for the content. Here we are with the month 1 content released as intended, but now parts 2 and 3 are getting bundled together. So it's going to be
but they're coming out earlier.
Content all at once.
Well, technically, one's coming out earlier, one's coming out later.
Than I think we would going into the future. If they plan season 2 to be a main season update and a mid-season update, I'm sure they would pull forward a little bit of the content they planned for like the mid-season,
like the Haley
Transcendent
mods, probably
into the part 1 update. Anyhow, this is just my thoughts on what I believe should be the approach to adding more aspirational content going forward in the first Descendant, and the way seasonal content should be treated to ensure that this game can continue to consistently grow into a thriving, flourishing community and not slowly dwindle away to people being too overly frustrated with things that they were originally hopeful for, but then get beat down for when it comes to trying it out in the game. Let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments down below on how you think the seasonal content should be handled, whether you think that how it currently is decent, whether you think it's bad right now, what changes you would make or like to see going forward into future seasons for the first Descendant. Thanks for sticking around for my thoughts. stay grinding, and I will catch you guys in a future video.
Aww. Heart video. Yeah, absolutely W video. W video. Absolute bussin'. Not disgusting. Bussin'. Okay? This was really good. His takes were very understandable. He obviously plays this game a lot more than me, but the fact that he has this level of fairness where he understands it from the other side's perspective of like, yeah, he plays this game a lot more. He's a lot more invested into this game, but he also understands that, hey, you can't just make all the content super difficult because then you alienate the more casual player base, and the more casual player base is the majority. And so when you make it so that, hey, you're advertising this content to people who probably haven't, played the game in a bit, and they come into the game and this content is just not reachable for them, they just leave. They leave again because it's like, oh, I can't do this content. Okay, well, what else did they add that's new? A new Descendant? Okay, how do I get the new Descendant? Oh, I have to do invasions, or I have to do a shitty dungeon grind. Well, I guess I'll just go back to playing Destiny or go back to playing Warframe. These are all things that we need to ask ourselves. And we all need to sit down as a community and just ask ourselves, whether you're hardcore or casual, we need to ask ourselves, how long do we want this game to last? Like, we can't just sit here and be greedy. We need to understand that there are certain things that this game needs. There are certain things that the players need and the players want. There's a difference. And it's up to the developers to understand that difference. It's their job to understand that difference. What do players need and what do players want? Because there are things that I sit here and I talk about, and the game probably doesn't need it. It's most likely something that I want for the game. Like the weekly challenge mode dungeons and void intercept battles, that might be something that I want, but it might be something that the game doesn't need. And I think it's really important to talk about these things. I don't think it's a problem to talk about these things at all, and this is why I've been so active and fighting these people that don't want you to complain about the game. You should complain. You should voice your concerns. You should offer up criticism. This is how games get better. This is in the history of gaming, of games that wanted to address these issues or address their issues. This is how games got better. This is how Warframe got better. This is how Destiny got better. This is how Path of Exile got better. This is how Final Fantasy XIV got better. Hell, World of Warcraft was in a really, really bad place in Shadowlands. Like, so much so that a lot of people moved over to Final Fantasy XIV. It was like the new big thing, the WoW Exodus, as we call it. A lot of people went over to Final Fantasy XIV because the developers did the exact same thing that I'm talking about here today, where they made content, made changes for the top 1%, and it just alienated the other 99% of the community. And it was bad. And eventually they sat down and they said, okay, what could we do to make the game better? And then they had Dragonflight, and now they have the War Within. And I've been playing the War Within. It's a lot of fucking fun. I've been having a lot of fun doing like delves, just going around doing my crafting. They changed like crafting and gathering. It's so good now. It's so good. But that's all I'm going to say in this video, guys. Honestly, give this guy a subscribe. Give him a like. Honestly, hey, let me see. I'll subscribe after this. But this video was a W video. Honestly, really, really good video by Fateless. It was very insightful. And it definitely got my creative juices going on thinking about some things that I want to see in the game. And I'm probably going to make a video about that here in the coming days or the coming week. So look forward to that. I apologize if this video was really long. I wanted to just kind of get my opinions out there and just talk about it. And I think this is my longest video since. But with that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. Like I said before, give Fateless some love. Great video on his part. It was very insightful. But with that being said, guys, my name's Garren Belmont, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye-bye.